Hello and welcome back to the Back of a Band podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Walden, and also journalist and owner of Spy Media, Chesterfield Run Media Company. I'm asking you today, why you're not watching, why you're not listening to the Back of a Band podcast.
Oh, don't get all high and mighty, LaRusso. It was your student work, Diaz. You reap what you sow.
We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, we're on Google Podcasts. What are you doing?
I sat down with Rick Astley.
Want me in your LLC because I'm going to pull pranks on your employees.
Nah, I thought that was my only problem. Like, that's a bit too unrealistic.
Every Friday, me and John McGlade chop it up. We have an occasional chat about what's going on in the world. Anything you can think of, we're talking about it.
And I was honored to be part of that, man. It was really a lot of fun.
He's always been drunk, man. I was in a fight.
Would you say you miss being like in the field of a journalist?
And maybe it was terrible, I don't know, but like I just love it all, really. I get into so many different genres.
We have guests on, occasional guests. You got that could be going from Cobra Kai actors to journalists across the world, and also, of course, some interesting stories, and most importantly, good laughs.
In fact, one of my favourite, I'm wearing a Cobra Kai even hoodie here.
Yeah.
Don't forget to listen and watch the Back of a Band podcast.
Good stuff. Well, welcome back to the Back of a Bang. Obviously, we had our first episode back last week, myself and Joe. Happy to say today we've got a good friend of mine and also big time YouTuber these days. And movie premiere star as well. Shamoon,
stop it.
also known as Cobra Kai Nation. How are we, son?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on. It's good to see you boys as well. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's appreciated, mate. I mean, let's jump into you. I mean, you've got a crazy journey. I mean, with the whole YouTube stuff, the Cobra Kai stuff, and as I just said, movie star these days as well. I mean, where did the whole, as people don't know, Shamoon's got 50,000 subscribers on YouTube covering sort of Cobra Kai content. He also does a lot of movie stuff as well. Where did the passion come, Shamoon, for the movie stuff?
Ever since I was a kid, basically, like I for as long as I can remember, I've always been into pop culture. You know, it just goes into sports as well, gaming, music. Like pop culture is such a broad thing. But film and TV, just like growing up as a kid, you know, I use the Karate Kid as an example because, you know, with everything I've done with Cobra Kai, like, as in like on my channel and everything. So growing up, that was such a big thing for me. That inspired me to learn self-defense. That helped me become a better person today. I just remember just that impacting me and my growth and who I am today. And just generally, like, film and TV shows growing up are so influential on you. So I've always loved that type of thing. It's just, I don't think there's not one person on this planet that hasn't watched a show or a film and said, like, oh, I hate everything. Like, you like at least one thing. It's like in everybody's DNA, I feel. Like, you're going to like something. But no, yeah, from the get-go, basically, as soon as I was born, probably like when I think the earliest memory of watching something, like I can't actually think. I mean, I remember watching like Drunken Master by Jackie Chan. I don't know if you guys ever watched that.
Yeah, I've watched that.
No,
Growing up, I used to watch a lot of that. Obviously, you got all your like childhood shows and stuff, but like to where we're at today with pop culture, like it's come full circle. So I've always liked it as a kid. You know, growing up, I've always been into Marvel, you know, DC, Star Wars, that kind of stuff, and you know, Cobra Kai. When that came full circle, was when the show started, and I didn't honestly realize how much it was going to impact me when it came back. You know, which is crazy.
To pick up on a word you said there, Shamoon. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned sort of self-defense, and I feel like I've heard you mention before you sort of struggled potentially with sort of bullying when you was younger as well. Would you say sort of Karate Kid and the whole sort of Cobra Kai stuff has helped with that journey? I know you obviously did the gym as well. Talk to me about growing up as well.
Yeah, like, see, the Karate Kid, so that's really deep for me, and I think this is something I don't think I've even gone to fully on my own channel, but I've talked to people in person about it. But like, I mean, there's one thing I have said is my granddad growing up, he was literally my Miyagi. And it's so on the nose when I say it like that, but it's literally crazy because he was the one that pushed me and my brother to get into karate. He was also a very influential figure in my life. You know, it's really deep. The stuff with the Karate Kid, like I think Cobra Kai made me realize that even more at this age, and it made me look back and think, damn, like my life has been so it's similar. With I mean, the whole story with the underdog. I feel like in my story and how I've been raised and growing up, I've always felt like an underdog, and just generally in school and stuff, like I wasn't one to pick fights and stuff, but I've always been one to defend myself. And I think everyone has had some sort of conflict or confrontation with someone they didn't like in school, right? And like I never really got into fights, as Mr. Miyagi says, no be there. So for me, it was more like defend yourself when you need to, but that's it. Don't go around picking fights. But for me, I think school years, I was a clown, but I was also mature in a way I didn't realize until now. And all that Karate Kid experience, like especially with Cobra Kai, with Miguel, um, his story is actually like I feel like the writers knew who I was. It was really on the nose, but there's a reason why I really like that character. And his story, like especially with the father figure thing, like I never saw my father growing up.
I mean, how was that impacted you? I can't imagine that. I mean, I've ever seen a dad growing up, and I know Joe has as well. I mean, how was that?
I mean,
Impacted you?
honestly, like the more I live, the more and more grateful I am for to my mum, to my nan when I was growing up, and obviously, like I said, my granddad. Like he really was the father I had in my life. I would say that, and I think it was without those guys, and I'll bring in my brother into that as well, because like we both grown in this journey, uh, and just we've gone through life, and no matter what has happened, I always thank my mom, my nan, and my granddad, because like literally, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think it's also a matter of uh just I don't like get toxic about not having a dad. I think in life, you think of people that have parents. You got mates that have their parents, and you got friends that are divorced. I mean, their parents are divorced, and they've gone through all kinds of stuff you might not know about. But like, I I honestly think in some ways like it was made to be this way, because maybe I wouldn't have been the guy I am today if I had my father in my life. It's sort of like how Carmen is trying to stop Miguel from visiting his father uh in Mexico. And you sort of like he had to go and find out his truth with that because he had doubts, but I already knew my truth like for my whole life. And it's kind of like, how do you live with that? You just have to adapt. You see other kids with their fathers, and sometimes I've got friends and I'm like, their relationship isn't that great with their father. It's like needy, stupid things. It's like, look, I didn't have one growing up. You know how lucky you are. And you just gotta like, maybe my story can shed light for them to go, shit, like maybe I should, be a bit more grateful here. But like, I never like, sometimes I think it gets to you, but I'm literally in my mid-20s now, and I feel that I wouldn't be fucking doing what I'm doing right now if it wasn't for what my mum went through and my nan went through and my granddad. Like, it's crazy because we're literally all three of us. Like, we're a byproduct of what everything our family has gone through. Like, obviously, we're adults and we go in our paths how we do, and we obviously like take and make decisions ourselves. But like, essentially, you are literally a byproduct of that. And yeah, I mean, the self-defense thing, I know you said about that. I never actually spoke about that. Like, also, like, yeah, not having a father, I think made me realize, like, you're probably gonna be seen as this guy that's like weak because you don't have your father. There's no man to like keep you in check in your life. So I became my own man. You know, I remembered in karate from the get go as well when I was a kid, and I remember that whole journey especially rewatching Cobra Kai, you know, seeing like what a lot of the characters go through with karate. Like, I just remember my journey growing up with karate and how that made me who I am today. And like, you never forget where you've been, and that's something like I've always lived by. So that's pretty much just one aspect of my life story. I mean, it's so complex, but like, um, yeah, the growing up without a father, like I feel for those that struggle with it. Not everybody goes through life in a healthy way without one of their parents, even if it's without your mother. Um, but like, funny enough, we've seen this in pop culture. Some of the most amazing individuals and heroic people have literally not had their parents. Like, look at Peter Parker, for example, Batman. Uh, you know, it's phenomenal what they. I know that's pop culture, but it's so relatable in the sense like people have still turned out really well without one of their parents or without them, and they made no excuse on it. So there's literally like there's that sense of me going like, don't victimize yourself and fall into that trap. Like, there's so many great humans that have achieved a lot, and they've just used that as a drive and a push. And it comes full circle with Cobra Kai. Like, I think that show. I mean, I met you guys because of that.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a very touching sort of way, and big up to your family that you've all mentioned there as well, Shami. I mean, as you mentioned,
appreciate that,
you've
man.
done a cracking job. I mean, Joe, obviously, you obviously met Shamoon. I think was it November properly?
First time in November, like just casually, and then obviously in March, like that was like the proper first time we met.
I mean, what's it like? What's it like hearing that? Because I mean, we're getting to know you proper deep now, Shamoon. I mean, what's it like hearing that? This man's on such a journey, hasn't he, Joe?
Yeah, it's an amazing story. I mean, now we can see why you love Cobra Kai and Karate Kid because it's such a meaningful film to you and everything. And obviously, it's like you see similarities with Miguel and everything. It's just such a touching story, and it's amazing to hear. Like, I can see why you love for Cobra Kai, and you've built this obviously massive empire, I would say, on this Cobra Kai.
No, it is.
I appreciate that.
It's obviously very impressive and very nice to hear. That's why you've got such a love for this Cobra Kai.
I mean, Shamoon, when you've seen the Miguel scene, I mean, we all know which one we're on about. When he meets up with Johnny in Mexico after searching for answers with his dad. I mean, I remember you posting about this. I mean, what was going through and what were you feeling? Because that was I think might have been such a moment you resonate with the character so much in that because it sort of come full circle for Miguel, didn't it, as well in that period?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I still remember like first time I saw that, I was just like, damn, bro. I did like get really teary at that. I didn't cry the first time. Second time it got me there. I was like, nah, that seems so deep.
Did it bring up all memories from sort of the childhood when that sort of scene happened? Did it all come back?
I think in a way, yeah. But for me, it was like, it was sad in the sense like he had to go out finding the truth with his father, and I felt bad for him knowing he had to put himself in such a dangerous scenario by doing that. And like, I'm so fortunate I didn't have to do that with my own father, and I like that was such a big moment for just his character and also just rooting for him. And that scene, yeah, it totally got me. It did make me think about just it's just like how he has a father in his life with Johnny. I never really had that, but that also made me sad knowing like, despite his real dad being this horrible guy, like Johnny has always since the beginning of Cobra Kai, he's been his father basically. And it's like that scene with you remember in Guardians 1 when Yondu said to he said to Quill, oh, you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
Actually, no, it's Guardians 2. There's a scene. I mean, I don't know if I should mention it now because it might spoil it for you.
I'm not gonna watch it, don't worry. Joe, have you seen this?
Of course I have, yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. You remember the scene with Yondu? When he says it to Quill?
I haven't seen it in like since it's come out. You can say it. I'll remember it when you say it.
So essentially, it's a scene where like Charlie could know this without a spoiler because it's just it's the context of what we're talking about. So like,
Yeah.
Yondu says. So Quill has he meets his father in the second film,
Yeah.
and he realizes who he is. Yondu, the character played by Michael Rooker, he literally goes, that was your father, but he wasn't your daddy. As in, like, same thing with Johnny and Hector. Like, essentially, Johnny wasn't the biological father, but he was
The dad.
the dad to Miguel. So it's like that, and that quote, it makes me think like, there's probably been so many scenarios where a son has literally had a father, a stepfather, or just someone that is better than the biological. And also, like, I always say about Miguel, but I will say this, like, I relate so much to Robbie as well, because there's that sense of, with Robbie, you have like, you see there's a different side to how he sees his biological father.
Yeah.
Whereas Miguel didn't know, but Robbie, like, he goes, like, you remember when he picked up the phone when
I feel like Robbie,
Johnny's at while
Robbie
you at
almost
school.
sees sort of Miguel. Robbie almost sees his dad like Miguel sees his dad in a way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It doesn't show up sort of on his own sort of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, the stuff with, I so relate to Robbie when, his like the anger, or like the annoyance he has for his real father. Because for me, like, I don't like carry that with me. But I totally get where Robbie's coming from with that, because, like, I know if my father just turned out of the blue and tried to, like, tell me what to do, and it's like, you're never here. Why are you trying to help me? Why you were never anything to us. So, like, I totally get that attitude with Robbie, with his father. And, there's like this sense of just the dynamics you see with the kids and the parents. It's so, like, so common, and I think I remember watching I think season 5 with my mom, and she saw that scene with Johnny and Miguel, and she was like, wow, like, that got her as well. And she thought of
Really?
me, literally. Yeah. And my yeah, my mum was just amazed at how the Karate Kid sort of came back full circle like that as well. But it's like, it's just such a it's such an amazing show. Like, I know we all know how great it is, but, the more I apply it to my life, the more
I mean,
passion I
you
have
can
for
take
it.
real life lessons from it. I mean, especially some of the earlier seasons. Especially that. I remember speaking to Kevin, who we all know on here as well, and one of the few meaningful conversations I've had with the fella, he doesn't speak much. He actually spoke about like how he used to be bullied. I'm sure you won't mind me saying this. He used to be bullied before he watched the show, and he watched the show, and he took a lot of lessons from that. And it made him sort of feel like he was part of something, part of a sort of. Cause I mean, the Cobra Kai fans, I mean, they all come together. I mean, I'm not hugely on sort of the fandom side, the fandom thing, but the fandom
Yeah.
really do come together. And I mean, you could see it when he met Miguel. I mean, you were there. I mean, he was in tears. I mean, he resonated so much with that character. I mean, that's one thing about the show that you can't not give it is. I mean, Joe, you're not the 100% massive fan of it, are you? Any of these days? I mean, you like
Nah, I
the
stopped it. But it's like a very real show, isn't it? Like, like you say, it hits a lot of people. It's like you can see that they take the time, and obviously they want to try and get it down perfect to resemble families in real life, and that's obviously what they do perfectly. And
Yeah.
I think that's why it's got such a big fandom now, because it's so real. Really, it's just so real. It's not like,
Can you believe how big it is, Joe? I mean, you were talking about this.
was that?
Can you
What?
believe how big the Cobra Kai has
Oh,
become?
nah, like I thought it was like just like some people in geese and everything, but nah, it's like proper massive. Like, it's like it's Stranger Things, me Stranger Things level, really, isn't it? It's like it rivals that when it's out on Netflix and everything. So I can't believe how big it is. Like, it surprised me. Like, I do enjoy it, but I've not seen the new season because I've kind of like gone off it. But it is a massive show.
Joe's one of them where if he watches the show and it's like, and when it feels like it's run its course, he won't watch it anymore. He's like one of them people. He said he was saying with Walking Dead, wasn't he? He was saying with
Yeah.
Walking Dead. I remember him telling me about that. He stopped watching Walking Dead. I mean, to be honest with you, Cobra Kai, I feel like it is right coming to an end at season 6. I mean, I would love to see another season, but you can only take it so far with a storyline. I do believe. I mean, before we wrap up this section, we jump onto your YouTube side of it. I mean, when Cobra Kai does end, I mean, do you think it'd be an emotional period for you? Because I mean, I've watched it from the start. I've watched every season. I've waited on release day to watch them. As have you. I know you have Shamoon as well. I mean, when that final episode does land and you watch those final minutes, I mean, what do you think be going through your head?
So what you might have seen my reaction to when they announced being the final season. It was very like out of the blue because we didn't get any news on season 6 after season 5 had come out. Like on the official side, because I I remember just going, I have a feeling this might be the last season, but I was expecting it to go to 7 seasons. I could not see it go past that. It would have had that Walking Dead treatment if they'd gone past. And I mean, that show was so good for a similar amount of seasons, but the quality really went, and they did some really questionable things. I don't want Cobra Kai going to that, but here's the thing: we've got some great creators behind the show, and they're really passionate about the story. But like, see, with season 6, like once it's out, I'm definitely going to be emotional about it because this show is like
It's
I
changed
told
your
you,
life, hasn't it? It's changed your
it
life.
has changed my life.
I mean,
like,
for me,
it's changed my life
it's
in
just
so
a
many
show.
aspects.
It's a show I enjoy. Don't get me wrong, I love the show. But if Cobra Kai goes, it's not really like a thing where it's impacted me massively. I mean, I've made some good friends with this, like yourself, Craig, and in that sense. But like for you, you built a massive, like Joe said, you built an empire around this. You built your career around this. I mean, this has changed your life, hasn't it? For real, this show.
It really has, and I think with the show, like I think once it ends, like I know what I'm doing before like the show ends. Like I already got in my mind like if this is something that I've always thought of even before I even made my channel. Because it's when I made Cobra Kai Nation, I always thought like I always get this question, Charlie. What are you gonna do when the show ends, Shamoon? What are you gonna do when the show ends again? What are you gonna do? All the time in my streams, even like when I was covering season 3, which was like the first season I covered on YouTube. Because I was such a fan beyond before that, but like I didn't really do the YouTube thing till then. I just remember all these questions, and I know that day was gonna come eventually, but when the season's out and it's done and dusted and I've finished covering it, it's gonna be sad. But with life, you evolve, and there's that sense of progression with this. I think Cobra Kai is. I couldn't have started with anything better in terms of like YouTube or a show that really means a lot to me. It couldn't have started anything better because Cobra Kai it helped me understand more about myself, and the passion I had with that also gave me more sense of purpose. I will say that. So like it's impacted my life so much, and it's definitely going to be an emotional one, man. Like just to see where the show's come, and now it's got one last season. It's like it's not like any show I've ever watched either. I think that's why I also feel quite sad about it. Because like, are we ever going to see this type of thing again?
Yeah, it's hard to find a replica of that for sure.
Mm.
And I mean, even like Joe, you're a fan, but you're not the hugest, biggest fan like other people.
No, I haven't
like myself. I mean, even for you, it's made a bit of an impact on your life because if you think about it, if we didn't watch Cobra Kai, we probably wouldn't have done all them Liverpool weekends. To the Comic Con, you wouldn't have met Craig, you wouldn't have met Shamir. I mean, wouldn't have had these incredible weekends we had in Liverpool and these incredible times. And so it'd be quite an emotional point for me. But it definitely had an impact on all people's lives.
Yeah.
Even people that watch the show, even Collins, for God's sake, man doesn't even watch TV. But yeah,
Wow.
we're gonna wrap that up on the first part when that time on this meeting, and then we're gonna move to sort of your YouTube journey, Shamoon, and how you've sort of found it.
Yeah, of course.
So Shamoon, when we were talking about like the YouTube, like, do you ever think like your life would have been much different if you've never stumbled upon this Cobra Kai? Like, do you think you'd still be doing YouTube and everything? Would you have done it over a different like pop culture, different TV show or film, like a different franchise?
So before I started Cobra Kai Nation, I actually, I think you already know this, but I had my first YouTube channel called Shamoon Reacts, and that was all about pop culture, but it wasn't just film and TV. I tried to find a way of combining all my interests into one channel. So film and TV, gaming, sports, and it was so broad because I like so much in pop culture. I remember when I first started my channel, I actually considered making a Cobra Kai channel instead. So when I started that first channel, it was in May 2019 in the summer. I just recovered from like severe pneumonia, and that was a big staple in my life to push me to where I am today. And that was a that was a thing I considered doing. So Cobra Kai Nation would have started a year earlier if I'd decided to do that. But what I wanted to do is sort of just get experience of YouTube, understand what I want and how to go about it, you know? And like eventually you kind of realize what you want to do. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm doing such a broad job, but there was one specific video that popped. And it was funny enough, it was an interview with someone from Cobra Kai. And he was in Borat as well. You guys remember Ken Division? He played Azamat.
Is that his
Was that?
Is that Barrett's cousin who he plays?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Azamat Bagatov. So the guy in he played the landlord of the Cobra Kai dojo in the show. So I had him on my first channel, and that was when I like was first like interviewing as well. See, the thing is with YouTube, I've always been into media, so like the whole YouTube experience, it kind of was a way for me to understand like I want to do media, and also I love the idea of being a YouTuber, and I've just seen so many different people like expressing something they love and making a channel of it. I'm like, well, pop culture is such a popular thing, and you know, there's so much to it. I mean, you could be talking about this forever, basically. And for me, I'm too ambitious for that 9 to 5, sat in an office, uh, corporate lifestyle. That's just not me. So fair play to anybody that does it, because if that's what you like doing, and that's still there's still there's still subways about it, you know, like you know, when you have like a 9 to 5, but it can be something really cool. Like there's differences to it, but like the cliche 9 to 5, I can't do it.
You like the freedom.
Yeah, and I think for me it was being able to have control of everything I'm doing. That's another part I love about YouTube. And the biggest thing of all was the creativity. I feel like growing up, I've always been creative in no matter what I've done. So like being able to like express myself like that on the camera, it's and just for something I love. It's awesome. And yeah, I was very close to doing Cobra Kai Nation first, but then I wanted to get a bit of experience. And then once that video had popped, because I remember it was like Lad Bible were talking about that interview I did, because they were covering loads of stuff on the new Borat film, and I just had this idea like, because I just can't believe that popped, and I love interviewing. If I could do that more, and that's something I've always wanted my own talk show. You know, growing up, I'm sure you guys have heard of him, Craig Ferguson, the Late Late Show.
I know Dylan. Obviously Jimmy Kimmel and all that, and
yeah.
So we got the Jimmy guy. Is it Colin O'Brien or something? Like
yeah, Conan. He's another one. So like Craig Ferguson, Conan O'Brien, Kimmel and Fallon. I'd watch sometimes. And then obviously can't forget the UK best talk show is Graham Norton. He's the guy for that. I think.
Jonathan Ross, though. Come on, Jonathan Ross.
And Jonathan Ross. I can't forget him. Come on. I watched
as well.
I pretty much watched those guys, and I've always liked just to discuss and converse and talk about stuff, and it could be anything really, but like better off when it's about passions. And I just remember that moment I started interviewing on Instagram, and I then thought, you know what, I could do this I could start my Cobra Kai channel, but I wanted to do some interviews on that. Yeah. And I wanted to talk all about the show, but like now after like a year and a half of knowing how I could do my first channel and just seeing some small success with that, I'm like, how can I go about it with CKN? Because like that's ideally I was more obsessed with that than the first channel, because it was just all I really thought about at the time in terms of pop culture.
I mean, sorry to interrupt. I mean, you mentioned obviously the Cobra Kai stuff. I mean, when did you sort of first realize you was actually starting to make a name for yourself in the Cobra Kai industry? I mean, I've tried to break into it. It's fucking hard, man. I mean, you've done really well to get into it and to build a platform we are. I mean, when did you realize you were starting to make a name for yourself and the numbers were coming up?
I think so. When I started to see like my growth go from like 1,000 subs to 10K, I was like, wow, like I'm either doing not just like nah, not even that. It just seeing those numbers and just seeing how much people cared about what I was doing. And I take pride in making good content. I don't want to be like posting rubbish and, you know, being one of those types of YouTubers. Like any good YouTuber, I've watched this, I've learned from others, and I've seen like you have to really understand and be passionate about what you're doing. It's like in anything, Charlie and Joe, like anything in life, like you have to understand it. In order to, especially on social media, you gotta walk the walk before you can talk the talk, you know? So it's one of those things where, I mean, yeah, Cobra Kai, like, see, I was surprised there wasn't more people talking about Cobra Kai when I started my channel and just saw the growth. I mean, I think when I hit 10K, I think that was sort of midway of 2021, or I think it was actually before that. You know what? I can't actually remember, but I think it was like early 2021. But when I hit 10K, I think that's when I started realizing like people really knew who I was. And I think what came full circle for me though, and when I think, damn, people really care about what I do, I think it's when I went to Comic-Con Liverpool in May last year. Because that was the first time, actually not even just Liverpool, when I went to LA in May last year, and I went to the Cobra Kai Live and Battle.
Well, that's a different country as well, people in America. She means the UK YouTuber, and he's going to another country.
So, I'm from the UK. This is it's an American show. The biggest fan base is out there, of course. We've got a big fan base over here in the UK, and we've all seen it in full force. But like when I went to LA and I was at the Microsoft Theater, and I had a bunch of people inside there going, "Are you Cobra Kai Nation?" I just went, "What the dude?" Like
my ego went in through the roof. You know what I mean?
It's shell shocked.
I was like, okay, I understand the community isn't Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Stranger Things, even, because that fan base is massive. Although I do think Cobra Kai's fan base will catch up to that eventually. I was in awe, but I had so much gratitude when I heard someone was like, "I know you, bro," and I'm like, the first time I got recognized was literally in another continent. The first time I've ever been to the States, and someone knew who the hell I was. Yeah, it was niche. People probably know each other better in the community.
Mate, what was that? Someone first asked you for a picture as well. I mean, that would really feel so weird to me. Like someone just have a picture. What was that like? I mean, it'd have been like, what the fuck?
I remember the first photo I took, and I was just like, what the hell? I'm not a celebrity. I'm not this famous dude. I'm not like, I mean, maybe some people see me like that, but I honestly don't see myself like that. You know, that's just me trying to, I like to stay grounded. I don't want to like start to go and lose and have an ego about it and, you know, become this douchey kind of person. Like, that's just not who I am. And first time I remember someone asked me for a photo when it was at Comic-Con specifically. Because I remember a few people asked me for photos there in LA, and I was just like, what the hell, man? This is crazy. And these were people that I'd seen on social media or I'd maybe spoken to once or twice. But I still remember the first time meeting you, Charlie, in Liverpool.
You impressed me a lot. And I'll tell you why. at this point you had like 30K subscribers, and you had a lot of people
Yeah.
coming to that day. And I kid you not, Joe, before I even said a word to him, he went, "Oh, Charlie." Me and him spoke once in Instagram once, and he knew my name. He knew my name straight away, and I thought that was that's a guy that cares about people that follows him, and
Yeah, of
that's what
course.
I knew straight away. Like
It
you knew
looked
my
as-
name.
Yeah, like I mean, I try my best remembering people, especially their names, when they've approached me at like a Comic Con, because I think it's just amazing that someone gives so much of a care about me in that way, and I'm a stranger at the end of the day. In a sense, like I haven't met these people in person like yourselves, but just the fact you were giving me all this support and love, and what I'd seen in LA was like I was bewildered by that. And then just to see it in the UK, it made me so happy, and I think also like it just connected me more to this fandom, and the people that watch it too, and just to talk about the show, and just to be able to say thank you to people in person was lovely, because like the show has changed my life, but the support I'm getting as well has also changed my life equally. So like just it was something else.
I mean,
I remember just meeting you, and yeah, I just was like, yeah, I remember his face, Charlie. We spoke on Instagram, and you had a podcast as well. I remember you did like sports media. I still remember that conversation we had, and then I remember meeting Craig, and
the Justin
Craig
fella,
he was hilarious, and
the Geordie boy.
you
I mean,
know what's funny? Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I can remember when I met you. 5 minutes into our conversation, I mean, I won't say a name, but some person put a camera in your face and said, "You're live on Facebook. Say a few words." I mean, what was that like? That was weird. That was weird for me.
Okay, that was the first interaction I had where, again, I'm just trying to get used to this, like already going off that experience in LA, which was amazing, but then going in the UK to a con for the first time, wearing a Cobra Kai cosplay, going as a content creator that people know of, like that was the first Comic Con I'd gone to in that sense, and it was yeah, I felt really weird, especially because the person didn't really ask me for permission. They kind of just went up to me with a phone like this. Like, I'm like, if you want a photo or you want to talk to me first, I mean, that's how you go about it. I mean, again, I respect passion and stuff, but sometimes you gotta like understand what you're doing.
Did you see that, Joe? Was you there?
See why celebrities get mad.
Wait, what's that?
You can see why celebrities get mad. Obviously, now I know when they're
I think
shoving cameras in
that
their face.
was that really made me think of like, if like let's say you met someone like Toby Maguire and he had a fan going up to him like that, like I think that was the first moment I understood what it meant for like those kind of people and celebs, like not that I'm a celebrity, but it's
well in the Cobra Kai fandom you are, aren't you? So it's like
it feels like that. Yeah, I mean people at cons, like especially when there's those Cobra Kai fans, they so much love and support, man. It's honestly like amazing, and like it just to. I mean, I think the first Cobra Kai fan I met was Kev. You mentioned him earlier on, Charlie. Like it was crazy because he was also a Miguel fan like me. Like I love
huge Miguel
fan.
fan. Huge Miguel fan, that guy.
Yeah, he was the first fan I went up to, or came up to me, and he was like, "Yo, you're Miguel," and I just went, "Yo, this guy's hilarious," but he's also just like super nice and like
full on.
It was that whole fan experience was crazy, man. Because I was there to meet the cast, and just like you guys as well, we're all there to enjoy the con, meet the guys from Cobra Kai, and I was just bewildered with all the support with fans, and then the cast.
And the cast knew who he was in the Q&A.
I couldn't believe that as well. I mean, that was something else in itself. Like I'll never forget when they I'll never forget the interaction that I had at the con with them, especially at the panel. Because again, I'm taking all this in. People asking me for photos, people just talking to me, and I tried to spend as much time with everybody at the con as I could, because I not only I love talking to people that have like similar interests, but it's just I've never had that before, and I just wanted to like be cherish this moment and cherish the freaking people that are supporting you, because like that's not something you get a lot in your life, and
No.
it's honestly, and I'm so grateful by it, man. And I don't think there's a day that goes by that I never appreciate a fan or anybody that has supported me. Comments, DMs, especially when I've seen them in person. Like it's phenomenal. But you know, one thing I think that I'll never forget is there's a young girl called Haley in May last year who ran up to me saying, "Shamoon, you're Cobra Kai Nation," and she asked me for a hug. This little kid asked me for a hug, Charlie and Joe, and I literally, that's when I realized, like, damn, I've got kids watching me from what I'm doing, and I need to be a good role model and, you know,
I mean,
set example
you
for
forget
these
early
guys.
on, don't you? Because obviously you forget early on because you're just creating content, and you do realize, as you mentioned there, you're a role model, aren't you? When especially you get to the point you're at now, 50K subscribers, you're pushing for 100. I mean, you're a role model for some people.
People look up to him. He could be inspiring that next girl to like talk about something she loves and everything.
That's the crazy thing, man. Like, I don't know how much my content has impacted people. Like, I don't know if it's just they're watching someone that really understands Cobra Kai and they just want to watch me because they can see I really care about the show, or they're literally like, I mean, the stuff people have told me, like it gets them through life. I'm like, damn, like that's impacted me massively, and I'm just so grateful that they've shared these things to me, because then it kind of gives me a kick in the ass. Like, don't slack with this. Don't forget these people. Don't forget why you're doing this. And like, they add more purpose to what I'm doing. And you know, there's always something. There's always a purpose greater and bigger than us, right? So I always think like for the greater good. Like me making content. Well, how is it impacting people? Is it a positive impact on people? That's how I carry myself as a person, let alone as a creator. You know, you have to be positive and inspire people, especially in this goddamn world now, man. Like, so much going on. Like, you know, that con as well. We were just about recovering from COVID, in the sense, like, you know, going back to conventions, being able to go to events, and just to see so many fans of something I loved. It was so like therapeutic, and it was a very life-changing experience for me in the sense that, you know, all these things I've just told you boys was like racing through my head and trying to process it. And I still couldn't process it a month after I got back from Liverpool. I was just like, what an experience. It was something else.
It was a great kind. It ruined it for me. I mean, what did you make of all them fan interaction jokes? I mean, you've seen it first time. We spoke about it, especially in November as well when we went to the Comic Con.
Oh right, well obviously like I'm obviously a fan of like anime and stuff, and so I don't mind cosplaying that. But when I actually go to a con and see it first person, like I find it some quite odd. Obviously, especially I mean, if you like furries, then that's up to you. But they are like, yeah, they spook me out a bit. And then like, because I didn't realize how big Cobra Kai was. Obviously,
You were shocked.
Yeah, I was shocked, and I couldn't believe how many people like running around with Johnny's leather jacket on, and Ed band and geese and everything was on.
Right.
And then I think there were more Cobra Kai than the Stranger Things Walking Dead, because there was quite a few Walking Dead, and obviously that's a massive show. And I think there was more Cobra Kai fans than anything there. So, like for a first time experience, it was quite like a wake up call. Like, wow, I didn't realize how much people.
Like, it was incredible.
Could you see yourself doing something that Shamoon's doing, Joe? Like for something like a reaction channel to maybe anime? Would you ever consider anything like that?
Oh yeah, like I've considered it, especially anime, because I do. That's probably like the most finger loving like pop culture. Like obviously, yours is Cobra Kai. I think mine would definitely be anime, and like you said, sports. I like to do basketball. Obviously, be UFC, get that in there now, and then. But I think it'd definitely be anime because it's my favorite thing. I enjoy it, and like I think that affected me obviously when I was like basically shutting and everything at 18. I was watching like 15 episodes a day. Like proper that. And I feel like there's like a lot of characters there what motivate you and everything to do better for yourself and everything. So I'd definitely like to try and do something like that with anime and like try and grow it. But anime is so popular now, it's such a hard thing to get into. Like, do you think this Cobra Kai, you know, like when you made yours, do you think it was like kind of like an untouched gold mine? Like it was like untouched potential.
In a lot of ways, I was just surprised that no one was covering it as much as the guys in the US. Like again, I know this fan base is in Marvel DC, so you're gonna have more creators talking about that from different continents. But like when I like I think so Jacob, the chosen one, like he was the first YouTuber I came across from the UK and the only one I know that covered Cobra Kai like I was. And for me, yeah, I was kind of like, why isn't anybody in the UK covering the show? And I think that reinforces my point when I went to Comic Con and saw these fans. I mean, that I still can't believe how many fans I saw that, but like, I was like, yeah, why isn't there more people covering it? Maybe I just haven't found them yet. But I mean, just to see that many people in the UK care about it, I think it did feel like, in a sense, like, oh wow, I came across this first, and there's no specific Cobra Kai channels in the UK. But like that for me, I think that's just so unfortunate in the way that turned out because I mean, it was one of those things where it just I just seemed so fortunate for me, and it was luck as well. But at the same time, I was kind of like, I'm very surprised no one's already talking about this. Um, until I met Jacob, and you know, he does like his channel is like my first channel. It was more broad about pop culture, and you know, I love pop culture as a whole, but for me, just Cobra Kai, like I just really wanted to cover that specifically at the time, and of course I still do now, and got a bit of a wait for season 6, but yeah, I mean, I think it did feel like a gold mine in a sense, and all the things that came with it, like you know, the fan experience I had, and then you know, also like what I do extends to like cosplaying as well. That was another thing that I loved at the con was just seeing people dressed up as characters, you know, and I just thought that was so cool to see. I'm not the only one in from where I'm from that really likes the show. Like people in the UK love it as much as I do, and I um I just thought that was awesome, man. Especially like when you can just geek out with people that have something similar. Like it's one of the
Yeah.
coolest things, you
But
know.
you feel safe in it. People feel safe that they can obviously basically put themselves of that character, you know, when they dress up and cosplay, like you are that character for a day and you feel safe, you know what I mean? Like everyone else is doing the same. So it's everyone who comes together and just loves well pop culture, don't they? And just absolutely love being with each other. And I obviously see photos stuck all over, like when they're all taking pictures with each other. Like you'll see someone in a gi from Cobra Kai stood with some stormtroopers. Like
I love that. See, this is the thing I love
Super
about
random,
Comic Cons. Like you'll see the most random collabs or the random photos. Like, oh look, Spider-Man's just walking with Darth Vader eating food. It's like, yeah, someone in Cobra Kai is
It is
literally
as well. It is
sitting with 11 from Stranger Things, and they're just like
geeking out.
vibing. It's just funny when you think about
ultimate
um
crossover.
right. And again, I think it's just cool that you just see other people, not just with Cobra Kai, but just pop culture as a whole, like what you like. And it's also cool because I met people there that weren't dressed up as Cobra Kai, or whatever, but they were like still geeking out over like another show when they were there, but they still like Cobra Kai. And you know, uh, there's obviously like because it's a Netflix show, there's Stranger Things fans that like it as well. But yeah, that experience overall, just that first Comic Con in Liverpool, specifically for Cobra Kai, like
Very
the
special.
interactions with fans, just the moments meeting the cast I hadn't, being able to speak to some of them, you know, just the whole experience, man. It was something else. Like I still think that was easily one of the best memories in my life, easily. Like
Yeah,
top 10 moments in that. Like
definitely. I think those two in November, I think, ruined comic conventions for me because they was that good.
November as well.
Yeah,
November was something else.
Definitely, that one was like.
Joe loves November for different reasons. Though.
But I remember it though as well, don't I? I remember it, so like that's why.
Yeah, I mean, to look back onto the YouTube stuff, Shamu. I mean, you sort of touched on it before in the first part. life after Cobra Kai. I mean, I don't want you to give your whole future plan away. But what,
No.
what sort of a teaser are you sort of thinking about when the show does end? Because I mean, I know you've got a plan with that before. What is next for you? I mean, we know we've seen you doing some of the red carpet stuff and some of the press junkets, which, by the way, I thought you smashed. By the way, so and well done.
Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate that.
But yeah.
That was something that was so fun. And
What's
again,
next?
that was a byproduct of you know, this small success I've had with CKM. Like, I think understanding more of what I wanted from even before I started the channel was like kind of coming back to my mind. Like, I've always loved the idea of a talk show. I've always loved interviewing. I've been pushing for that for years, and I think with that experience with Cobra Kai Nation, like I've always thought about the journey. Like, it's gonna evolve, things will change, you know, and I know like nothing stays forever. So, you know, enjoy this moment with this. It's gonna evolve. It will get cooler, but then you might miss that a little bit because, like, you know, there was a point where I was doing YouTube every day, and then sort of like because I know the show's coming to an end soon.
Yeah,
it does make me think.
is that a thing you've done on purpose then? Because obviously you used to upload interviews every single week. I would see an interview uploaded from you, and you've sort of moved away a little bit from the regular content now. Is that sort of a consensus thing because you know it's coming to an end and you sort of look into the future?
In a sense, yeah. I mean, there's not been a lot to talk about with
Yeah,
season
true.
6 because, you know, we had the strikes going on with the WGA and SAG-AFTRA, and that's kind of made it harder to make content. And also, just I'm not gonna just upload when there's not much I can even talk about. There's lots of stuff I still want to upload, like, you know, because when I went to Atlanta, we did so many cool things up there. I still got to upload some stuff from that whole journey of the con and just the experience out there. Because again, met loads of a big Cobra Kai fan base out there. But like, yeah, I think with, I mean, I've always said like to people that after the show ends, I want to expand on not just like kind of go back to what I did in my first channel, but, right? But you know, just covering pop culture more again, and I've been doing that with one of the magazines I work with, Student Pages magazine. Massive shout out to Gareth because
read some of your stuff. Read some of your stuff. It's good.
I appreciate that, and that's been a nice difference to making content, and also just, you know, getting into the world of the film and TV industry, trying to go more legit and professional with it. It's definitely I struggled to pick with film and TV and sports growing up, and I went through this journey with sports. And then I realized, damn, I want to do media. So then now I'm so certain of that. Being able to, like, the sports side is never gonna, like, it doesn't mean I'm eliminating that opportunity. But, you know, I love sports so much, but I can do that for media. And I just want to cover film and TV more. Like, with that Cobra Kai experience, it's given me like this idea on how to go about my favorite shows and films, and, you know, these events I've been going to, they've been I never thought I'd be going to stuff like that based on what I've been
Man's
doing.
at an event every day.
It's I will say that the last 4 months
You're not tired. You're not tired.
mean,
We're always
what do you mean?
watching more films.
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful for all the stuff I've gone to, like, especially like the first. I mean, there's not many people that can say they've gone to a Spider-Man premiere. I mean, to go to the Spider-Verse premiere as well, that was one of the biggest experiences for me, because again, Spider-Man, loved him growing up, and just going to that was sublime, and it was definitely, again, another humbling experience. But like with these events, I'm trying to do more with the other interests I have within pop culture, because, you know, there's probably people thinking all I like is Cobra Kai, but even before that, I've always been a big fan of a lot of stuff. And, you know, for me,
Cobra Kai is what hit, isn't it? That's what hit you the most.
Right, yeah. Like, Cobra Kai is essentially my foundation. And it's
how you build on now.
I will never forget what it's done for me, and I always want that to be in people's mind whenever they think of me. Like when it comes to, it doesn't matter if I'm directing or producing or writing or broadcasting, whatever it is I go into, because I want to do a bit of everything. I don't want to like just be hooked on one thing. I want to try everything and see how I go about it. And there's already things I've already thought of doing for certain, but like, I just want to make sure that I don't want to limit myself, but also I don't want to like just be stubborn and sort of stay as I am. I want to grow and learn different aspects. And I think that complements each thing I've done, with the content creation. Like, film and TV is such a big industry. I want to understand more aspects to it and the media side. Just, I want to grow and get better at everything I'm doing. And, I just want to be the best version of myself and get better every time. I mean, there's so much to learn about it and so much progression, and it's so exciting when I think that. Like, yeah, I'm sad thinking Cobra Kai is coming to an end when season 6 is out, but it's sort of the end of something, but the start of something new. So I'm trying to make sure I don't forget where I am in my journey, but also, do what what I love doing, and that's talking film and TV and doing it in different ways and ways that will make me better as a person and professional. So it's like, there's a lot to it, and yeah, I'm just excited for the future.
Amazing. As we come to a wrap on this episode, I mean, I'll put the question to you, Joe. Is there anything else you'd like to ask this man? We know his time's valuable these days, other than movie star. Anything else to ask this man, and I'll go afterwards.
Just like, what would you give to anyone who's starting off on YouTube like I to be confident in front of a camera? Because I know obviously that's a lot of problems for people who wanted to start being YouTube. Like, just what would you say to them? Like, just to get them started off if they want to do what you've done and obviously achieved what they love and talk about it.
That's a good question, because like when I've been at Comic Cons, I have had the odd people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, like CKN, what advice do you have to be like a content creator or YouTuber?" And I always ask them, "What's your intention with it?" Because there's people that are doing this because they think they can get loads of money quick. There's people thinking they can take
Show me the money.
I
think it's easy.
Show me the money. And there's people that like are there for the wrong reasons. And when I say wrong reasons, I mean they are not driven by
chasing
the
money.
Actual thing. It's like money can drive anybody, but what sets you apart and what makes you a good creator is when you give a shit about what you're doing. And I always advise people, what is it? What do you want to do? Like, as much as I want you to thrive and do great with this thing, don't do YouTube because you see someone else doing well. Do it because you really care about what you're talking about. Like, if I'm the inspiration for someone to start a Marvel channel because they really want to go about something in that sense and they want to go about it, just start. My advice, honestly, is just start. Don't fuss about your equipment. You can use your phone. You probably got equipment already. Just start. Look at YouTubers you like watching. How did they get there? Observe, learn. Definitely keep grinding and making content. It will improve. But the problem I see a lot is people don't start. They just keep saying they want to do it. Do it. Don't be one of those dreamers. Take action. Do it. Because I think, again, a lot of people ask me like, how are you confident on camera? I just don't let those things sort of distract me, if that makes sense. You just have to embrace it. If you're feeling nervous behind camera, if you're feeling excited, embrace it and display who you are. Be yourself. I feel like another core thing into being successful online is just being yourself.
Definitely.
Not saying go out and be an idiot and make content. I'm saying like your authentic self. I'm always being me when I make content. when I'm on Instagram, when I'm at events. I'm not trying to be this fake version of me. I'm always trying to be who I am right now, what I am right now. And you just have to enjoy what you're doing, use that passion, and guide that into if it is YouTube or Instagram, however you want to go about it. Go into it with the mindset that you love it so much, you spread that love. Think about the inspirational aspect as well, because eventually people will start to look at your work. Do make videos that you don't even upload. Like, just test stuff out. I always learn from experience. I think we all do.
Yeah, definitely.
I've always been more of a practical learner, so that's how I learn. I'll be honest, I didn't get a coach. I didn't have a mentor for this stuff. I literally taught myself all this stuff, boys. Like, I literally started in my room doing YouTube. I remember the first ever video I made on my first channel was literally on my phone doing a reaction, and I literally had it laying on a laptop screen. Again, I didn't have the equipment, I didn't have the lighting and all that. You just got to start with what you have and build up from that, and then you learn. As you learn more, you'll become better at what you're doing. So it's a process. You got to trust it. Don't just give up because you're not getting views. They will come, but you just have to understand more about what you're doing as you're growing, and that's the only way.
Bang on. Great advice.
Yeah, wasn't
Well, what a pleasure it's been to have you on, man. I know we've been talking about this.
Yeah, thank you boys for having me on, man. It's good to talk to you guys as well. It's been fun.
Our pleasure. It's been a while. It's been since April, so it's been good to speak to you face to face on
been a
camera.
while, hasn't it?
It has.
Yeah, it has. I can't actually remember the last time I saw you boys.
Yeah, it's been a long while. But honestly, what a pleasure, my mate. And we'll get you back on after
Sure, man.
Cobra Kai finishes to sort of get your thoughts on that as well, for sure. But that's
Awesome,
been
yeah.
Shamoon, Cobra Kai Nation, future press junket interview. You've heard it here first. Thank you, man, mate. Appreciate it.